In a time of growing global instability, the relationships between the United States and its allies are more important than ever. But under Donald Trump's renewed push for aggressive trade policy, those relationships are once again being tested. Trump is not only proposing massive tariffs on economic rivals like China, he's also targeting America's closest allies, countries in Europe, Asia, and even North America. The result? An increasingly isolated United States and a world where some US allies may be moving, even if reluctantly, closer to Russia. Let's unpack if Trump's tariff-driven strategy could weaken US influence and give rival powers new opportunities. Trump's America First agenda is built on the belief that the United States has been taken advantage of by foreign nations, in trade, in defense, in diplomacy. To correct that, Trump is once again threatening wide-reaching tariffs. In April 2025, Trump proposed a 10% baseline tariff on most imports from countries around the world. Country-specific reciprocal tariffs, with rates like 34% on China, 24% on South Korea, 20% on the European Union, and 27% on India. Expanded tariffs on goods from the European Union, Japan, and South Korea. New penalties on automotive imports and steel from Canada and Mexico. While Trump framed this as necessary to protect American workers and industries, economists across the spectrum warned that such actions are likely to lead to higher prices, retaliation from trading partners, and disruption of global supply chains. But beyond the economic impact, these tariffs carry another, more strategic consequence. They signal to US allies that America is willing to treat its friends like enemies. Many of the countries in Trump's tariff plans aren't geopolitical adversaries. They're US allies. Nations that have stood beside America through wars, treaties, economic deals, and shared democratic values. Imposing tariffs on them sends a blunt message that the US doesn't trust its allies and it owes nothing to them. European leaders, particularly in Germany and France, have expressed growing frustration with America's unpredictability. Canada and Mexico, despite the USMCA trade deal, have also been hit by aluminum and steel tariffs during Trump's first term. Japan and South Korea, crucial partners in East Asia, find themselves repeatedly caught between US demands and their own economic stability. Alienating these partners has long-term consequences. When trust erodes, cooperation breaks down. And when the US no longer treats its allies like allies, those nations start looking for alternative paths to secure their interests. This is where Russia comes in. Vladimir Putin has made it clear that he wants a weaker, more divided West. And Trump's trade strategy, whether intentional or not, plays right into that. When the US pressures its allies with economic threats, Russia sees an opening. It offers discounted oil and gas to Europe, military partnerships to developing countries, and a counterbalance to what many nations perceive as an increasingly unilateral and unpredictable United States. Some US allies are already shifting in subtle but important ways. Countries like Hungary, India, and even Turkey, all of which have ties to the West, are strengthening economic and diplomatic links with Russia, or refusing to fully align with US sanctions and policies. This doesn't mean these nations are turning into Russian allies overnight. But the more pressure they face from Washington, the more they explore alternative relationships. And that's exactly the kind of fragmentation Russia is counting on. The strategic cost of this realignment could be immense. Tariffs might temporarily benefit specific US industries, but they also risk weakening NATO cohesion, undermining multilateral efforts like sanctions against Russia, damaging transatlantic unity at a time when it's urgently needed. America's global power has always rested not just on its economy or military, but on its network of alliances. Alliances built on mutual respect, shared values, and interdependence. If Trump's tariffs erode those foundations, the US could find itself more isolated in a world that is quickly becoming more competitive and more hostile. Trump may not be deliberately pushing America's allies into the arms of its rivals, but the effect of his policies could do just that. Tariffs, by design, are tools of economic leverage. But when applied indiscriminately, they become instruments of division. In a world where Russia and China are seeking to challenge US influence, unity among allies isn't optional. It's essential. If Trump's trade war includes America's friends, he might win some political points at home, but lose something much bigger abroad: the trust and loyalty of the very countries the US needs most.